using the parlays against one another, right? And being able to get a little bit of juice consig, I found to be a little interesting.
Believe me, all the rhombuses and parallelograms are constantly trying to search and find out those things every day. It's one of the battles that you know, as you expand the menu, you encounter new battles.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
How fragile are these guys? It's amazing. They're supposed to be the greatest athletes in the world, and yet they can't walk and chew gum at the same time without getting hurt, for goodness sakes.
That Trout injury really is a bummer, too, because people thought he was going to have a big year. And I look, I don't feel bad for the Angels. I don't like Mike Trout in Anaheim. I thought he should have left when his contract was up.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
With the onset of NIL and the transfer portal, it is allowing players to develop further in college, and guys that would maybe be stuck on the bench at a power program and not have as much shine are having the ability to find themselves in the spotlight.
Lane Kiffin came out and said you need to get bigger and more physical in terms of the offense and defensive lines, and that's why he went out and recruited that talent.
Inside the transfer portal, only on SportsGrid.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. Mm-hmm. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid as we get ready for another key game in the NBA Eastern Conference Finals. I'm Craig Mish. Great to be with you here on the show. Also, we'll talk some baseball and a little football with Mark Zinno of SportsGrid in about 30 minutes from now, so stay on the grid for that. In addition, Jacob Camenker weighs in on the National Basketball Association. And, of course, guest from Legal Sports Report today is Sam McQuillan to dive in the very latest as to whether or not you can attend a Dave & Buster's and bet on someone playing Papa-Shah. This is a real story that continues to percolate in the sports betting universe. I'm not making that up. It is true. I'm sure you've been there before. You may be able to bet on Dave & Buster's events in the future. All right, let's start off with a surprise this morning, and it just keeps happening in professional sports. J.B. Bickerstaff, the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, who got the team into the playoffs, into the semifinals, beat the Orlando Magic, got fired today, according to ESPN. He's out. I mean, it's sort of crazy. 99 regular season wins the last two seasons, and, right now they'll figure it out, but, 517 win percentage with Cleveland without LeBron James. So, again, they'll be looking for a new head coach in Cleveland, as Bickerstaff at the end of the season said he wanted to stay, but Cleveland's going to go in another direction. And the Lakers also looking for a new head coach, too. It just seems like maybe, just winning games is not enough. I don't know what more you want these coaches to do in the NBA. I guess if you don't win a championship, you're out. So does that mean Malone's getting fired by Denver next? I don't know. I guess we'll see. All right, let's get to the recap of last night. Timberwolves led at the half, led throughout the game. Fourth quarter comes, Mavs take over. They capture a road win in the Western Conference Finals in Game 1. 108-105 the final, mostly thanks to Luka and Kyrie. They are what gets this team going. 30-point performances from both of them. 33 from Luka, 30 from Kyrie. The Mavericks, of course, cover the 4.5. If you bet them on the money line, they win as well. Very impressive road win, especially for a team like Minnesota that's played great defense throughout the playoffs. Not so much last night, as naturally this went over the total of 206.5. And also Dallas went over their team total as well. So bottom line, great offensive performances for two players. Let's hear from Kyrie Irving, who said they had to get aggressive, and that's what led them to the win.
I mean, we just had to start off the game with an aggressiveness, and Just make sure we bring Rudy away from the basket as much as possible. We understand that's Defensive Player of the Year. They got first team, second team, all defensive guys. So as much as we could attack them in transition before they set their defense, which I got a few opportunities to do, got a few N1s to go. So I was feeling good in the first quarter and just settling, where we are in this Western Conference Finals. A lot of anxiety, some nerves. I've been here before, so a little bit more poise on my end, just being able to start the game with the confidence and that aggression,
And you've talked about Ant as being one of those kids with no fear.
Yeah.
He's on TNT after Game 7 talking about, I got Kyrie.
Yeah.
What did you think of that matchup and kind of that game within the game?
Yeah, no, as a peer, man, I love that. I love it, man. It's nothing better. When Ant was a little bit younger, I'm sure he was watching me, and when he was in high school, I was watching him. So for me, it's more of those exciting matchups that I look forward to too. Right after the game, it was funny because he said it right then and there, and I think the whole world was looking like, okay, you better know what you're talking about, and I respect that, and that no fear mentality that he has is why I love him as a competitor and why I love him as a person. But when we're on that court, I know he's going to give his all. I'm going to give him my all. And at the end of the game, it's all love. And we're in between those lines. He knows what it is, and I know what it is.
Yeah, and fair to say Kyrie Irving probably having his best playoff series since his days with Cleveland and LeBron James. Kyrie playing some great basketball right now. As far as the Timberwolves are concerned, it's been defense that has carried them in the regular season and the playoffs, but not so much last night, which is a concern, says Karl Anthony Towns.
Karl, you guys have so much success on the offensive boards, and you crash from the core and everything, but as you mentioned, they had a couple of leak outs, they had a couple of quick transition buckets. How do you balance that out of being that team on the offensive boards but still managing to get back and making sure you protect that?
Yeah, just you got to be a little more aggressive on the offensive end of offensive rebounding, especially on a night like tonight when we're not shooting our best. So you want to have defensive balance. You want to be able to execute a cover two, getting back on defense, especially against a team that has a passer like Luka Doncic. So, it's disappointing. Tonight's disappointing. Like Britt says, we gave up a lot of points in the paint. And if anything, with our team and our defense, the way that we're built, with the length and size that we have, we can't allow points in the paint. If anything, that's our biggest advantage in the league is, the three big lineup that we have, and we can't allow that. So we got to be tougher in there.
Have to play better defense. That's going to be the key for Minnesota. We'll talk about, of course, Celtics extensively tonight to see if they can play better defense against the Indiana Pacers, although it's really tough tonight. Total, folks, 225 in an Eastern Conference Finals game. That's right. 225 tonight. Celtics -9 in this game this evening. And if this one goes over the total, I don't know what they're going to make Game 3 in Indiana. But that is the situation tonight as they play Game 2. All right, let's get to some basketball news and notes besides the game tonight. The New York Knicks had all kinds of injuries at the end of the season. Jalen Brunson, Bojan Bogdanovic going to both have surgeries, respectively, not together. And Brunson was hurt, by the way, in the third quarter of Indiana's win, 130-109 over the Knicks. And so they'll both be fine for the regular season, which is, by the way, coming up soon. As soon as the season ends, the NBA starts again. 2026 is the time that Toronto will have their new expansion team in the WNBA. It's the first team awarded in the WNBA outside the United States. It will be the WNBA's 14th franchise. Golden State was awarded the Valkyries. They will play next year. And meanwhile, Caitlin Clark off to an 0-5 start with the Indiana Fever. Great game, by the way, last night, 85-83 against Seattle. But Caitlin Clark said, quote, she's trying to be as positive as possible. I guess that's what you say when you are 0-5 to start the season. All right, Philadelphia Phillies are playing the best baseball of anybody in the big leagues. They're now off to their best start through 50 games. They won again yesterday, crushed the Rangers 11-4. And they have never been better than 35-15 ever. But here they are. They won their fifth straight game. They've won 17 out of their past 20. And right now the leaders in the National League East, as you see, Alec Boehm, Bryson Stott, they're off to great starts there. San Diego Padres going to be without Xander Bogaerts. He fractured his shoulder. He is expected to miss significant time. He has really struggled, by the way, as a member of the Padres. 219, 4 home runs, 14 runs driven in. He won the Silver Slugger 5 times with Boston, but thus signing that $200+ million contract has not worked out for him as of yet in San Diego. Meanwhile, yesterday in the battle of aces between Detroit and Kansas City, the Royals end up winning. Cole Reagans, my gosh, is he great? 12 strikeouts yesterday. Kansas City beats Detroit by a final of 8-3. Reagans and Tariq Skubal, 2 of the favorites to win the American League Cy Young. We got afternoon baseball today. Mariners, Yankees, Giants, Pirates. Paul Skeens, 12:35 Eastern, by the way, if you're interested. Rangers, Phillies, 1:10 Eastern. Padres, Reds at 1:10 Eastern as well. All right, TNT Sports may be losing the NBA, but getting college football, sort of. What they're doing is negotiating this new sub-license contract with ESPN, 5-year deal. So TNT Sports is going to pick up the college football games now that they've expanded from ESPN. 2 first-round college football games during 2024 and 2025. TNT will be the primary network televising the, again, sub-licensed college football games through TNT. In the Eastern Conference Finals last night, it was an unbelievable performance from Florida as they take on the New York Rangers. They led 1-0 after the first, 2-0 after the second, scored another goal in the third, and shut them out. It was a final, 3-0 last night as the Panthers take game 1 on the road. Meanwhile, the Devils have hired Sheldon Keefe as their new head coach, and also the NFL draft is going to be held in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in 2026. Next year, they head to Green Bay, Wisconsin. Coming up next, we'll recap the games last night in the NBA and take a look at tonight's games as well with Jacob Camenker from Sporting News.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. To your quarterback in the first round. Yeah. It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 years, 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
NewsWire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Exciting finish last night between Minnesota and Dallas. Will we get the same result tonight between Boston and Indiana? Let's check in with Jacob Camenker from Sporting News. Jacob is with us to do a little preview and also recap. And Jacob, let's start off last night with Dallas and Minnesota. I was watching this game back and forth, and it was tight at the half. I'm like, I wonder if Minnesota's going to win and not cover this game. Well, not only did they not win, Of course, they didn't cover. Dallas went on the road and won this one. And maybe I was wrong. Maybe it's not just all about Luka having 30 points, because it was Kyrie Irving last night that really stepped up as Luka's sidekick. And it was a primary factor, I think, in the reason why they won yesterday.
I agree 100%. I think that the reason they won is because Luka got off to a slow start, but Kyrie Irving gave them that secondary scoring punch. He had 24 of his 30 points in the first half, and he just looked aggressive. He was attacking downhill. He only took 3 3-point shots. He really kind of played to his strengths with his speed, athletic ability, and getting downhill. And then Luka Doncic kind of woke up in the fourth quarter, so that allowed the Mavericks to kind of pull out this win on the road. And we saw that that's the main difference between them and the Timberwolves is they have the 2 top-tier scorers. That's taking away nothing from the Wolves' role players and Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert and all the quality players they have. But if Anthony Edwards isn't going out there and getting you 30, the scoring has to come from somewhere else. And they got a strong effort from Jaden McDaniels, who had 24. But you can't count on that every game, whereas the Mavericks, generally speaking, are probably going to get at least 30 from one of those guys. And if they get it from both, they're going to be live to win any game in the series.
Yeah, and we saw a big shift on FanDuel last night in the market for the amount of games that the series is going to be played. 6 games is down to plus 170 now, Jacob, and 7 games is only plus 210. You don't usually see this, but when the road team wins a game, that's the shift. So, I feel like it's somewhere in between that 6 or 7. I'd be guessing, obviously, if it goes the full distance, but I don't think that I would love anything except for those 2 possibilities or positions. How about you?
I agree with that. I've been kind of adamant that I see this going 7 games. I think it goes the distance. I think Anthony Edwards is going to have some of his blow-up games. I think that the Timberwolves defense is going to be able to come out and slow those guys down and come out hungry and win some games. So I think it goes the distance, but I do think that the Mavericks have a slight advantage just because they have the 2-star scorers, and that matters so much at this point in the playoffs, and their experience level compared to that of this young, fun, hungry Timberwolves squad just gives them a slight edge here. So I think I prefer the Mavericks. So if you think the Mavericks are going to win at home in 6, I wouldn't mind taking that bet.
All right, so 6 games, says Jacob, for the Western Conference. Now let's go to tonight's Eastern Conference, where Indiana is at Boston. Again, Indiana nearly stole Game 1, but the odds makers are telling us probably not going to happen in Game 2. What do you think, Jacob? 9-point favorites, Celtics tonight, total of 225. Man, I'm not an over guy. I always think the value's on the under, but my gosh, there's just I don't see any scenario where I could ever go under with the Indiana Pacers playing. And even if they don't shoot 67% or 65%, it just seems like the way that they play is conducive to an over here. But I don't know how I'm really feeling about this game tonight. I sort of feel like another close game is possible. And is it also possible, Jacob, that Boston is just simply overrated in terms of where these lines are here? Like, should the line be 5.5, 6? Is this too much?
I do think this is a little too much just because of what we know about the Celtics as a team. They tend to lack killer instinct. They get up big in games. They were up 13 in Game 1, and they tend to blow it and get into these clutch time situations that, they should pull out of more often than not, but they tend to tense up. They tend to take difficult shots. They play some hero ball. They don't have a true playmaking passer, like not a Luka Doncic type as a passer. I think that kind of hurts them here. And the other thing I'm looking at, just from what I saw in Game 1, Al Horford is going to be at a disadvantage in this series. He's a great defender typically, but the Pacers have such size with Miles Turner and speed with all their other players that if they get Al Horford in the pick and roll, if he tries to do drop coverage, he's going to be late to come out and defend the 3. And then if he tries to defend the 3, they're going to be able to blow by him. He's just a step slower than these guys, which you'd expect from a guy in his late 30s who has a lot of NBA miles on the tires. So I think that they're missing Kristaps Porzingis a lot right now. So I think as long as Porzingis remains out, I'm not going to trust the Celtics as massive favorites. And I agree with you. I like the over here. It doesn't feel right to be betting that in an Eastern Conference Finals game, but both of these teams can score, and the Celtics seemed willing to play into the Pacers' hand where they want to play a fast pace. So if that happens again, I think this is going to go over.
Yeah, it could tonight. I mean, it definitely seems like that's the pace of play with Indiana. They're the ones sort of controlling the pace. All right, let's move on to the NBA draft, which is coming up. And look, there really just, Jacob, isn't a lot of talk about the first few picks in the NBA draft. All the talk is around Bronny James and where he's going to go. Jacob, I can't make heads or tails of this. I don't know if this is LeBron's camp or real scout. I mean, it seems like such varying opinions on where Bronny's going to get drafted, if he's going to get drafted. Like 2 weeks ago, we were told, oh, he's still, look how great he looks. He's a potential first-round pick. Now we hear he may not get drafted at all. Like, how does that even happen in 2 weeks? Some of the ESPN analysts say that he's like a late second-round pick. I mean, I think he's going to get drafted, Jacob, but my gosh, like the messaging, I think, is really the issue for me here. I don't know what to believe.
I don't really know what to believe either, but the one thing I'll say about this whole draft is it's considered one of the worst in NBA history, and that's taking nothing away from the talented guys in this draft, and there will probably be really good NBA players that come out of it, but there aren't these top-tier prospects. It's not viewed as a deep class, so I think Bronny James is going to get drafted for that reason, for his bloodlines, for the fact that, hey, he didn't have a great season at USC, but he was also coming off of a cardiac arrest and playing off the bench. So, you can project him to grow a little bit. And I think any team that takes him is also going to be thinking, hey, if we take him, we're going to have an outside shot at landing LeBron if he wants to play one season with his son. So, hey, it might be worth it in the end. I think he's going to go somewhere in that second round range, though.
Yeah, we'll see where FanDuel sets the line. I know the draft is coming up in June. All right, thanks again, Jacob. Great to see you again, and have a great rest of your week. Happy Memorial Day to you as well.
Same to you, Craig. Take care.
All right, we'll take a quick time out. SportsGrid Sound Off's coming up next.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. It's your quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 years, 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
NewsWire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We're in for a treat, I think, in the Western Conference of the NBA Finals. I mean, all the odds makers, FanDuel, DraftKings, everywhere else, basically has this going 6 games or 7 games. If you're going to bet it, those are the odds that are the shortest right now, meaning that there's a really good chance that we get one of these epic West Finals that could come down to the last bucket and the last game. And hopefully that is the case. But I digress. Right now, let's start giving some kudos to the Dallas Mavericks, who last night went on the road and beat the Minnesota Timberwolves and probably gave them the best offensive performance that we have seen, as Minnesota did a really good job shutting down Denver in the semifinals. Jason Kidd really impressed, of course, with his team, and that includes one of his superstars, Luka Doncic.
If he can jump that high defensively, does that mean that he has flop dunks and is on the offense? Are you going to be calling him plays?
It's the Luka shoes. It's got to be the Luka shoes. Those are special shoes. Like MJ has special shoes, Luka has special shoes for his vertical. I don't know what he did at the combine for his vertical, but
I don't think he wants us to know.
Well, he'll let it know. Brady did the 40-yard dash. That was known. So when you look at what Luka, but it's just, special players make special plays, and a lot of times it's not always on the offensive end.
I think the shoes. It's all about the shoes. Remember that back in the day? You guys probably don't remember that way back in the NBA. It was all about the shoes with Spike Lee and Michael Jordan. All right. Hey, Ben Stevens with a little preview of some college football. Folks, we are coming up quick on college football. 2 months away. Wait, is it 3 months away from college football? But we're not even doing the Big Ten today. We're doing a little Big 12 as Ben takes a look at the Iowa State Cyclones, potentially one of the more underrated college football teams in the country. Here's Ben.
We are less than 100 days away from the start of a new college football season, and here's an under-the-radar team to keep an eye on within the Big 12 Conference for 2024. It's the Iowa State Cyclones. Last year, a 7-win football team that had 6 losses. 5 of those 6 losses by 10 points or less. Iowa State always kept things close. Fast forward to 2024, the Cyclones' win total is 7.5. I like the over, and here's why. 84% of Iowa State's returning production from last season is back in Ames this season. That experience should matter for Matt Campbell, led by his quarterback in Rocco Becht. Some of the top targets back for Iowa State as well. The entirety of the starting offensive line, and if we're betting over 7.5 wins, maybe under the radar to win the Big 12 at 10-1.
Now, the one thing that we have to do before we get to the college football season, we'll attempt to do it here on NewsWire, is go through all these conferences and where all these teams are going into the season. Remember, the Big Ten doesn't look anything like it did. Neither does the Pac-12. Is there even a Pac-12 this year? It's going to be an insane college football season with so many teams having left their conference and going other places. All right, tonight in the National Hockey League, will we get an epic game between Edmonton and Dallas? It has been the Connor McDavid Edmonton show thus far. Will that continue tonight in the Lone Star State? Let's check in with Joe Madden. She has a preview of the game on the ice.
Game 1 kicks off in the Western Conference tonight between the Edmonton Oilers and the Dallas Stars. Now, the books have made the Dallas Stars the favorite at -128. The Edmonton Oilers at +106 on the road here, and a total of 6.5 juice to that under. I'm going to have to roll with Edmonton in Game 1 of this series, expecting them to have momentum off that Game 7 win versus the Vancouver Canucks. You look at this team, and their top playmakers have been elite. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and defenseman Evan Bouchard all scoring 20 or more points in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. First time in NHL history a team has had 3 players do so. And for defenseman Evan Bouchard, the first time for a defenseman. So great momentum here with the Edmonton Oilers. But for the series, the Dallas Stars, this team has the depth and they have the goaltending in Jake Ottinger. I do think the Dallas Stars take the series, but Edmonton takes Game 1. Back to you, Craig.
All right. Thanks very much, Joe. Always did a great job previewing these games on the ice. By the way, is it possible that we could potentially get, and I know that you New York fans don't want to hear this, but is it possible we could get a Florida Panthers, Edmonton Oilers NHL Stanley Cup final? Like, who would have had that at the beginning of the season? Edmonton and Florida. Talk about 2 completely different spectrums. I am about, from the driving perspective, I'm about 35 minutes, maybe 30 from Sunrise, where the Florida Panthers play. But I got to tell you, yesterday, a lot of people in South Florida very excited to see just how far the Panthers can go. Remember, they've been a really good team over the last couple of years, and certainly not even a favorite going into that game yesterday against the Rangers, covered as a slight money line dog, +105. All right, coming up next, Sam McQuillan's going to join us to talk about the latest on sports betting in Massachusetts and the Dave & Buster's controversy. Don't go away.
The Bostonian versus the book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. Took a quarterback in the first round. Yeah. It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 years, 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the book.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
NewsWire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Wow, lots of controversy as always in the sports betting universe. Let's bring in Sam McQuillan for the latest before we get to this Dave and Buster story. This is like one of my favorite sports betting stories of the year, by the way. I'll tell you more in a bit. Sam's got us here to talk about what's going on in Massachusetts as it appears as though more safety procedures are coming into play with some of these sports books, limiting the amount of wagers, limiting the amount of winning, which of course limits the amount of losing as well. But Sam, not everybody on board with this, and kind of funny and kind of sad to a degree. The sports books are just kind of like stepping to the side saying, we're not going to limit anybody from winning, losing, and you know why, I think.
Yeah, it's a really actually interesting angle, in my opinion, to a topic we've talked about on this show lately, which is, setting limits for players, mainly from the perspective of problem gambling, making sure that people aren't betting more than they can lose. Certainly, you've seen a lot of effort from DraftKings, FanDuel, and the rest of the gang to promote responsible gaming. And, with all this messaging out, you want the game is more fun when it's for fun. You want to be betting for fun, not necessarily trying to get rich or anything like that. But what we've seen kind of take place over the past few years in the industry is some people, a very small community, slowly banging the drum of limiting the other way. When you're winning too much at a sports book, if you're a really sharp bettor, a lot of sports books, what they'll do is say, actually, we don't want to take all that money. We're going to limit you down to maybe, in some cases, even 5 cents for a bet. So if you're someone they know has a history of winning, obviously these are big data companies, they can do that. And that's been the prerogative for the last couple of years. The reason we haven't really heard about it much is because most people, frankly, don't win. That's why these companies make money. That's why they exist. But one instance here, Massachusetts is now sort of looking at this topic for the first time. They had a roundtable yesterday talking about, basically learning why sports books get limited, things like that. And none of the sports books showed up, like you mentioned. So that was really interesting. Some of the commissioners said they were frustrated and angered with kind of that response of them declining to show up. Frankly, from the sports betting company standpoint, it kind of seems like, they're sort of I wouldn't say bluffing, but saying this isn't a huge issue for us. We don't see it as an issue, and didn't want to kind of validate that by, physically being there. Essentially, the commissioners are kind of just exploring the matter, but it is the first state really to take a look at this issue. There would probably have to be sort of a law change to get anything written where sportsbooks can't limit different players. And it's a practice that's been going on for a long time in this industry. Often you'll see on Twitter people saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe that I can only bet 5 cents at this sports book or that sports book."
Right.
So it's something that you're aware of if you're in the community, but for most people, it's not really an issue. Obviously, sports books want to take the majority of their bets from people who don't bet as much. It's sort of the casual players, although VIPs and big fish are very important to them. It's the ones who are really sharp and really good at it that they don't want kind of on their platform. So nothing's going to happen overnight with this, but it is really interesting to see a state kind of starting to look at it, and maybe the sports books pissing them off a little bit. We've seen Massachusetts obviously be pretty aggressive compared to most of the other states in this department. Maybe a year from now, we're talking about a real sort of change in this way. Maybe it would lead to sports books leaving the state if they had to, set limits or post limits or not be able to limit people. But for now, it's kind of getting the ball rolling on a really interesting topic that doesn't get much attention. So it'll be interesting to see, kind of where this goes from here.
Yeah, you had me, Sam, until you said potentially leaving the state. I assure you, none of the sports betting operators are going to leave the state, even if they have their bets limited. By the way, commonplace practice in the past in the unspoken offshore world where bets were limited. Simply put, somebody's winning, limit them as far as what they can do. This is not unusual as to this story. It's just unusual to sort of hear this now. All right, let's move on. Let's get to Rush Street, their CEO, with a very important discussion this past week on the future of what Bet Rivers holds. They've had this very, I would say, positive niche in some markets, Sam, and they haven't really expanded beyond that. So what'd you take from this conversation?
Yeah, pretty interesting comments from a company that's sort of been fourth or fifth in total market share since U.S. legalization started. They, haven't been too competitive compared to FanDuel and DraftKings, but they're there, and their online casino product is pretty prominent in a bunch of states. They actually just took over in Delaware for 888 as kind of, the only operator there. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do in that market. But the CEO coming out this week and essentially saying, while all these sports books are zigging, we're going to zag parlays and sort of squeezing more money out of people has not really been their focus. What they've been talking about is doing something you've seen other companies like BetMGM and Caesars do. I wouldn't say completely abandon or give up on the sports betting race, but kind of refocus it and reframe it within their larger thinking and look to iGaming. The CEO, Richard Shorts, talked to investors this week about the importance of leveraging third-party affiliates to promote casino games and sort of use that to get to customers as opposed to the mass advertising that a lot of the companies, frankly, no one's been able to compete with, have done. And people have been kind of spending money, or sportsbooks rather, have been spending money to keep up with that. He's talking about sort of a different avenue to reach people. Mainly, I think iGaming you're going to see propped up a lot more when you talk about the investment side of companies and the future there. Even though it doesn't seem like many states are going to legalize it anytime soon, it seems like now is kind of the lull period where you're going to have these smaller companies like Bet Rivers, Rush Street Interactive, the parent company, even, legacy casino companies like Caesars really focus in on getting the product right to ultimately prep for when that expansion happens to kind of be the first mover or really successful in that space. So interesting to hear him kind of talk about, we're not trying to do parlays. We're not trying to push people towards this where we get a higher hold percentage in sports betting. It's more about the big picture business, iGaming as it relates to sports betting, and then everything that could come from there. They've got a lot of bingo games, different sorts of ways of trying to cater to customers outside of kind of their traditional sports betting to kind of get them away from some of the disadvantages they have compared to a Flutter, FanDuel, DraftKings, which sort of have unlimited pockets when it comes to advertising, especially as it comes to sports betting as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they do in Delaware going forward as kind of the main company there, really the only one offering any product. And we'll see how investors react to kind of that as an example. They don't really have any more states on the horizon. So when there's less competition, Is that going to be good for Bet Rivers? Are they actually going to be able to capitalize on this? You think on paper they would, but we'll have to see going forward kind of how everything shakes out, especially when you have those other companies at the top and the newcomers like Fanatics, ESPN Bet, and obviously you had BetMGM and Caesars all in there. It's sort of like, who's kind of the next domino to fall out of there? Some people have speculated Bet Rivers, but it seems like they have a plan to kind of, keep themselves afloat and stay competitive going forward.
Yeah, and it would be interesting if Delaware ever opened the door up for more operators outside of Bet Rivers, how that would change considering how successful they have been there. All right, finally, Sam, let's cap it off here. Illinois talking about this whole Dave & Buster's betting stuff. For people who are not familiar, there's a chance in the future, and even now, soon, you'll be able to go bet on your favorite Pop-A-Shot players at Dave & Buster's. What's going on here? What's the latest in Illinois?
Yeah, when Dave & Buster's announced that they were partnering with a company to offer, betting on their games, whether it's Whack-A-Mole, Pop-A-Shot at their facility, it caught a lot of pushback from regulators and the public in general. Sort of, how is that going to work? How are we going to regulate this? So in Illinois, the fight is still going strong, even though tomorrow's the last day to pass any laws. One lawmaker is pushing a bill that would ban entertainment companies like Dave & Buster's from offering this sort of product or this sort of mechanism. So he's really optimistic it gets done. It just got added to a new racing bill. There's a chance it happens, and Dave & Buster's is barred there. We'll see if other states then copy it and, take that as kind of the prerogative there. So an interesting, weird story, as always, in this world.
It is. What's next? Betting on, racing of animals, not named horses. Who knows what's next? All right. Great to see you, Sam. Thanks. Have a happy Memorial Day to you.
Thanks, Greg.
Right
you
back.
too.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. To your quarterback in the first round. Yeah. It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
NewsWire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Great to have Mark Zinno back in the house as we're getting ready for some college football, pro football, and Mark does a great job covering all of that. But happy to chop it up with some baseball today as he joins us here on the show as Mark gets ready to handicap all the games coming up this weekend and, certainly in the future. And Mark very familiar with the National League East and the Braves. And so we thought that's a good place to start. Mark, thanks for coming on NewsWire here. And how's everything going? Great to catch up with you.
Craig, great to be with you. Always happy to be on. The things are better with me than they are with the Braves offense. So yesterday finally busted it out. But still, that was a game yesterday where they only scored 2 runs in the first 6 innings. So that 9 runs, a little misleading on their way to a win over the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought between Acuna and Olsen and even Riley, who's been out, it's really been Marcell Ozuna that has been their guy this year. Yeah, we'll get to the Braves. We'll get to them. Let's talk about the Phillies here. An unprecedented start for that organization through 50 games. We have seen the Phillies play very well over the last few years. It generally hasn't happened until after Memorial Day. But why this year has it happened before Memorial Day, where the Phillies have been this successful?
I mean, look, it's crazy to say, but it really all boils down to one man, and that's Ranger Suarez. I mean, objectively, he's 9-0. They're 10-0 in games he starts. If they are 6-4, Craig, their record then goes to 30-26, or 30-20 rather. And they're only 2 games in front of the Braves at that point in time, and they don't look like the juggernaut that they are right now. Like, that's really what it boils down to. One guy can change your entire outlook when he's been this dominant, when every 5th day it's an automatic W for you. That's what it's been for the Phillies. And, you know, I don't know if Ranger Suarez is going to hit some regression and things are going to start to normalize for him or not. But literally, that's the reason why this team is on a record-setting pace, because they have a single starter who hasn't lost a game yet, and they haven't lost a game when he's been on the mound 10 times, you know, one third of the way through the season. So that's enough to inflate the record to where it is. I'm not taking anything away from the Phillies offense or the rest of their pitchers. Well, by the way, Zach Wheeler and you know, other guys are Aaron Nola's still pretty good, right? Like those are all good starting pitchers. But Suarez, ultimately, from a guy who's been around a 500 pitcher his entire career, now going 9-0 with a record and 10-0 when he's on the mound, certainly changes the overall picture of things.
Yeah, and listen, it's a fair point. The contrarian to that would be, wait a second, Harper didn't play in the first half last year, April and May, and Bohm didn't do what he did now. But the bottom line is Suarez's ERA is like sub-2. So, like, regardless of what the hitting has been, it has been Suarez's pitching that has kept them afloat, in addition to the other 2 pitchers that you mentioned. As far as the MVP market, I don't know if there really is a market at this point. I think the American League is a little bit more up in the air than the National League. You know, Mookie Betts, as long as he just keeps playing the infield, I think it just gives him a huge advantage over Ohtani, who's plus 750. I'm sorry, plus 350. You just generally don't see a DH win the MVP, but I suppose a 55 home run season and something like that could change people's opinion. William Contreras has been fantastic for Milwaukee. I still leave the light on for Harper. So I think it's kind of, for me at least, I don't know, I'll get your opinion, but for me at least, it's Mookie, it's Shohei, or Harper. It's one of those 3. How do you see it?
It's very early. I mean, look, Mookie has to stay healthy, right? Like, that's going to be the determining factor for us sitting here as we approach Memorial Day weekend. You know, obviously the numbers are going to be there for him if he's healthy and he plays. Are we really going to count out, you know, Ronald Acuna again at this point in time to turn it on? I wouldn't. Are we really going to count out, you know, Tatis to continue to surge on the way the Padres offense has been as late? I wouldn't. You know, these at this point are sort of flyer bets that you're taking, Craig, on somebody you really feel can get hot. I mean, obviously there's next to no real reason to jump on Betts at plus 150, other than the fact that he's likely going to win it. So it's a nice little hedge if you wanted to add, you know, if you're going to take a unit play, put half on Betts and take a flyer on somebody else and hope it comes down to both of them down the end of the stretch there, and you know you're going to be in good position. But yeah, I mean, look, it's Betts' award to lose at this point, but we have so much summer left before we can really start having these conversations.
Yeah, the injury factor is just huge in this. So let me put this one to you this way as we take a look at the National League Cy Young. If there was no Rookie of the Year voting, if it didn't exist, would Imanaga be the favorite to win the Cy Young? Because and you know me, I follow baseball closely. I just don't understand this this early into the season. Why is Imanaga not the favorite? I don't get it. He has been the best pitcher in baseball this season, statistically, yet he's not even the favorite to win the Cy Young.
Yeah, and look at the snub along Tyler Glasnow is getting here, Craig. I mean, outside of his start last night where he finally, you know, got beat up a little bit, but he's been next to unhittable the entire year on a team that's likely going to win their division, have the best record in the National League when it's all said and done, and he's going to be the ace of the staff with 20 wins. I mean, that's the guy I would look at right now. We talked about as being very early, but still, Glasnow's stuff translates, right? We've seen him pitch an entire season in an area like Tampa that didn't have the lineup that the Dodgers have, and there's going to be a whole lot of W's stacking up for him. And as much as we don't focus on pitchers' wins anymore as the main determinant of the Cy Young, when a guy wins 22, 23 games in a season, it's always going to draw voters' attention. And Glasnow is trending that way. So between him and Suarez, it almost feels like you're getting a little bit of value on both those guys. I think Imanaga, once we get more tape on him, once, hitters are getting more film on him and able to digest a little more, and he's starting to see some of these teams a second and third time around, then maybe you'll start to see the numbers start to change a little bit. It's with Imanaga at this point, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, year 2 is usually when that definitely starts to happen with some of those pitchers. Real quick, with the NFL, they're going to this digital system on first downs. This is like a long time coming. I don't know why it took so long. Any downside to this when you heard the story?
People will sit there and say maybe it might take longer to figure out and, get all the ins and outs of whether it's a first down or not. I mean, at some point, if you're going to do this, you're going to have to put some sort of electronic chip in the football to know where it is, right? Like you half the electronic system. Because really right now it's where the ref spots the ball is somewhat still arbitrary. There's no exact nature to it. And if you're going to be exact on the change, you probably need to be exact on where the football is.
Yeah, would agree. All right, Mark, thanks for taking some time out of your day to join me here on NewsWire. Really appreciate it. Have a great Memorial Day weekend.
You too, Craig. Thanks.
All right, Mark Zinno here with us on the show. Last Licks coming up next. Make sure you stick with us. We'll find out how many people were interested in Kyrie Irving's props on BetMGM last time.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. To your quarterback in the first round. Yeah. It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 years, 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the Book.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for. So I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships. So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
NewsWire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Time to get into a little sports betting action as far as props is concerned. We actually included Antonio Brown on this show today for the first time in a while. Usually I'm like, get him out of the show. and something along the toy sports realm too. So those are some of the stories that we're following for you here as we end the show with some last licks. All right, let's get started. You see Kyrie Irving there. Time to give him some props on his props. I don't know if you're on social media, on the site formerly known as Twitter, which is now known as X. But yesterday they posted an interesting note before the game between Dallas and Minnesota. You don't see this that often. 99% of the money, that's a lot, only 1% left. 99% of the money was on Kyrie Irving's prop over 20.5 points over on BetMGM going into the game. In fact, they even threw a little note in there like, what could go wrong? Well, indeed, nothing went wrong. What did everybody know last night about Kyrie Irving going? I mean, he flew over this prop yesterday as he scored 30 points, not as much as Luka Doncic, but 30 points last night in that win over the Minnesota Timberwolves. So in my opinion, this is the best we've seen Kyrie since his days in Cleveland. I know he's, shifted around the league, played in Brooklyn for a little bit. But again, BetMGM is going to pay out a lot of people after that prop yesterday. You don't see them complaining, right? So why is any limitation going on as far as this is concerned? I don't really get it. The whole thing. Massachusetts wants a limit. Sports betting, winners, losers, etc. Anyway, maybe a story for another day. As far as I am concerned, when 99% of the money is going one place, I'm going the other. But again, last night the public ends up with that bet. All right, so that's where we begin. Now let's move on to Antonio Brown. Yeah, Antonio Brown at it again in the news, but not for himself for the first time in a while. Antonio Brown yesterday, according to reports, has filed bankruptcy. That's right. He owes nearly $3 million to 8 different creditors and is claiming that his net worth, folks, this can't be right, but I guess that's what he's forming. In the U.S. Bankruptcy of Court, Southern District of Florida, Chapter 11, he's saying that he only has $50,000 in assets. Folks, Antonio Brown made over $80 million over the course of his football playing career. Now, look, this is not a story to laugh about or make fun of. We're not doing that. We're just basically stating what is going on here. Now, Antonio Brown also is my neighbor. Does not live very far from me, about 5-10 minutes down the road. I am sad to see this for Antonio Brown. I know that some of the issues that he's had has been, self-inflicted, and there's been a lot of discussion, innuendo about, CTE and things that have happened to him over the course of his playing career. Hard to believe that somebody could lose this much money over the course of life, but indeed, that's where Antonio Brown is. I am not going to poke fun, just going to wish him the best, and hopefully he gets his life turned around, if indeed this is the case. All right, on a brighter note, we end. Barbie, which is such a popular movie these days. Now I'm sure you've, at some point you've gotten your daughter a Barbie over the course of her life. A lot of different sports athletes on the women's side going to be represented with new Barbies. One of them, very cool. It is going to be Venus Williams. She's being honored with her own Barbie doll. It's part of the new role model lineup of dolls, which includes female sports icons. And Venus Williams, without a doubt, maybe overshadowed a little bit over the course of her tennis career by Serena Williams, who is pretty much known as maybe the best tennis player on the women's side of all time. Venus Williams was really awesome. And remember, before there was Serena, there was Venus there too. She started it all. So congrats to Venus Williams. And congrats, by the way, great job by Barbie for making all of these dolls as well. All right, that will do it for our show today. Thanks again to Mark Zinno for coming on the program, as well as Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report, and also Jacob Camenker from Sporting News. Also, thanks to our associate producer, Frank, and our producer, Michael Cohen. I'm Craig Mish. Coming up next, we have the early line, followed by Pharrell Coast to Coast at 3 o'clock, getting you ready for all the action tonight in Major League Baseball, the NHL, and, of course, the NBA. Now, as far as tomorrow's show is concerned, you're in for a treat. My buddy Mike Blewett is going to be hosting the program, and he's filling in for me tomorrow, and we have no show on Memorial Day. So this is the last time on this show that I will see you until next Tuesday. I want to wish all of you out there a very safe and happy Memorial Day. Whatever you're doing, make sure you're honoring the right people during this time too, all of our military and everything that has happened here in the United States. I hope you enjoy your weekend. Keep it locked here to Sports Grid. I'll see you Saturday morning if you're interested in fantasy sports. If not, see you Tuesday morning for my next edition of NewsWire. Mike Blewett in tomorrow. Have a great weekend, everyone. See you then.